In the previous video, meta list for farm lane has been covered. Click here to watch part 3. And in this video, let us dive into the remaining lanes in this meta list. After this, the thing I will cover is Clash Lane. In S-tier Clash Lane, we have Lian Pol, Dun, Li Xing, Domination Form, Byron, Mulan, Fuzi, Guan Yu, and Main. Lian Pol. In the landing phase, he has no fear on any Clash Laner fighters or tanks. And after level 4, he can be a team initiator, damage dealer, and even the teammate's protector. With these utilities, he is also easy to learn by beginners. This is why he is now in tier S now. Next, Dawn. He is a tank that you can rely on to protect Clash Lane Tower. He cannot finish enemy easily, but his defense, healing and shield can sustain for a long time in a team fight, he is a pillar of his team, protecting the team from danger. Li Xing, Domination Form. Basically, most of the Clash Laners have a hard time to fight him, if he is a high micro-level player. When this kind of players play him, usually they can calculate the damage in the fight, which you will find out you are defeated fighting him when you thought you can kill him when he is low HP. So, usually I will not find him trouble when I'm not in perfect state after his level 4. You can try to practice him until that level. He is one of the hero that can make some miracles happen, and the miraculous comeback usually comes from him. Next, Byron. After a buff of him that he can save his passive, he can be considered to be in tier S. With his healing, knock up, and shield from his ultimate, he is a fighter that can contribute much to the team. He can be the one who carry the team by easily killing enemy ADC with flash. Mulan. With her win rate now in part 1, actually you can know she is now in the meta without further explanation. Her mobility and her immunity is how she let a micro-level player place her in the Clash Lane. With map awareness and strategy, she can dominate in the Clash Lane. And a micro-elite player will just silent any hero and kill them before they can use their flash or any escape skill. And with 30% damage reduction, she can reach up to 70% damage reduction with her ultimate, which makes her can absorb huge amount of damage, or even wasting enemy skills on her. Her top 2 damage reduction that can even reduce real damage brings her to another level. So, she is definitely a S-tier Clash Laner. Next, Fuzi. The top 1 damage reduction hero, his damage reduction is even higher than Mulan. With Pure Sky, his damage reduction can reach up to 75%. He is usually play as a mad tower pusher. Under the tower, he can even fight more than 2 enemies under the tower with his damage reduction, but of course, you need a certain level of micro strategy. His ultimate can bound a hero and not letting the enemy run away. Before Mei and Hino was born, this ultimate basically will be feared by most of the Clash Laner. He is a tier S now, and of course with enough of strategy and tricks. Although his skills are simple to understand, but there is some difficulties when you want to use them accurately or in a strategic way. He is another hero who can dominate the Clash Lane himself. Next, Guan Yu. He is Superman in AoV. He is one of the special hero in HOK, which his mechanism needs the synergy from the direction console. I am not going to discuss his mechanism here. So, with his insane knockback skills, he can do a knockback CC chain until the enemy is defeated, which means the enemy cannot even move when trying to escape, but it is a different case that the enemy brings Purify or Cleanse. He is the game changer usually in the mid-game. When he push whole team of the enemy in a sudden or from an unexpected position, and when the enemy does not even aware, the enemy usually have to say GG to themselves, because from the strategic knockback, the enemy will be wiped out in a high chance, and then his ally can just push the towers in one wave. He is one of the hero worth to put in effort to practice too, because his mechanism hardly make him drop to lower tier and he has been tier S or A for 8 years. The last one in S tier, Mei. Although she cannot push tower like Fuzi, or as tanky as Lian Pol and Dun, she has a high level of mechanical skill ceiling, and actually she is purposely designed for it. Healing, knock up, stun, insane knockback, speed up, and untargetable. She is basically having most of the mechanism in the game, and her damage is above average. With this mechanism, it has already implied how much playstyle you can play with when using her. Try her if you do not know what am I talking about, although it is a bit weird when a beginner tries to play her, because I am one of them when I started to play her. So, these are the Tier S Clash laners. In Tier A Clash lane, we have Seafarer, Elaine, Charlotte, Lubu, Chow Chow, Dharma, and Hino. Seafarer. The special thing about him is he can easily move from the upper lane to the bottom lane using his ultimate. This implies he is good in assisting team fight, for example when a 2 vs 2 fight, with him, the fights suddenly become 3 vs 2. What is bad about him is that his team will easily get aced when he cannot initiate the team fight in the perfect way. His mistake tolerance is very low especially during the mid game and late game, so yeah, the one who main him please note that, be a backhand instead be the team fight initiator in the mid game or late game, and don't spend your ultimate to provide vision, or at least you will feeding the enemies. This 2 points are extremely important when playing him. Next, Elaine. Nothing much I can talk about him. He looks cool, but his mechanism is like an average Clash laner. The special thing about him that I can say is the untargetable ultimate. So, really not much I can say, cause his mechanism is a little bit like me you Clash lane. A very ordinary Clash laner that his skill animation does not even fits him, because his skill animation is so cool, but the utility of him does not even fit to Tier S, sometimes I am sad about this, yeah. But, he is still in Tier A. Next, Charlotte. Before the nerf on her, she is Tier S Clash laner, because the official needs to buff her when the first or 2 month of the collaboration with SNK, and then she is too OP, official has to nerf her. So, yeah, now she can only be in Tier A. Her attack speed debuff on enemy still has the utility value there, and damage reduction is also still there. Her damage reduction is actually top 1 to top 3 which can fight a place with Mulan and Fuzi, but she was nerfed. But her mechanism is still there, she is still playable, and her utility shines only after mid-game for now. Next, Lubu. He is a real damage hero that all Clash laner and even tank support fear. He is basically a Tier S hero until Season 28 in Chinese server if not mistaken, before a big nerf on him, and he have to change his playstyle and build only he can come back to Tier A from Tier B. Beware the global server players, this server even recommend a very old build for him, the build is Season 20 if not mistaken, that Lubu still can play stack speed build at that time. So, do not use attack speed build, or you will cry in the game. He can now shine only in the late game, and especially solo queue. Before this, he can basically counter all heroes in Clash lane, like when picking him is already winning 80% of the game, before he is nerd so badly. Next, Chow Chow. Usually people will play him more as a jungler nowadays, the reason I put him in Tier B in jungler section is because there are so many heroes that are more suitable than him as a jungler and he is usually a situational pick for me. So, he can have a better tier in Clash lane. His durability is above average as compared to other fighters, and he can use to landing with Mulan actually, because of his healing. He is also one of a kind hero that played by micro players. That his damage and healing need to be calculated accurately to win a fight in Clash lane. He cannot do much in a team fight, what he can do is pulling enemy or baiting them to chase him and backhand them with teammates. Pulling strategy fight is always played in high tier fight, so you consider him as a high tier hero too. Next, Dharma. After his revamp, his mobility which is his pain point has been fixed, now his mistake tolerance is higher, and with 2 or 3 dashes from his skill 1 has already offset his mobility problem. He can shine now in the team fight, by dashing into the team fight and use ultimate to control enemies with his ultimate. So, his mechanism has improved and he is at A tier now, and the reason he is B in jungler is because he can brings flash instead using smite. This can even boost his mobility and increase his ultimate frequency in a match, which will be the game changer of a match. Next, Hino. His durability as a tank with the solo lane strategy can completely annoying the enemy to be careful in Clash lane. The strategy is just like Fuzi, and I can say his durability is even better than Fuzi, and can use to watch over Fuzi. But, the bad things is he cannot push tower like Fuzi, he only can lead the minion waves and cannot push tower like Fuzi. This is the only con that makes him cannot be as efficient as a tier S hero, that he cannot do objective, and objective usually determines the game wins or loses. So, this is all A tier Clash laners. Now, we will talk about tier B Clash laners. In tier B Clash lane, we have Xiangyu, Kaiser, Wu Yan, Li Xing, Ada, Arthur. Xiangyu. If there is no special item for him like Chinese server, basically he is just a tank and what only he is good of is absorb damage and knock back enemy only. His utility is so limit that can only counter De Xiao lineup sometimes only. So, he is a very limited situational pick for now. Kaiser. When playing him using burst build, he will face high risk losing in the late game. When playing him as tank, his utility is not efficient as other tanks. So basically, play him in Clash lane right now is not as efficient as playing him as junglers nowadays. So, he will be in tier B right now. Wu Yan. She is a very good hero that can deal damage with great amount of crowd control, like I mentioned in the support section. Just she cannot do much in the late game, cause she is not that tank and cannot deal damage that high as compared to her early game. So, due to this unstable factor, I will put her in tier B. Li Xing revenge form. Basically, his strategy can be play as only the solo lane strategy like Fuzi and Hino. But after the nerf on healing, he cannot do much as compared to Fuzi and Hino. And usually in the high tier ranks, the players will know this guy is going to steal tower. Unlike Fuzi, Fuzi can still push the tower even the enemies fight him under tower, and trade with the tower, while Li Xing cannot. Li Xing can only steal the tower silently. And after the nerf on the spark dagger, his attack speed and damage basically makes him even harder to one-on-one fight currently. So his tier has dropped. Next, Ada. After the changes on the defense item, which is Blazing Cape can anti-regenerate, and some buff on the other anti-regenerate item, his utilities drop a lot. So, I rather choose Byron or Chow Chow to play when I need a healing Clash laner instead of Ada. Arthur. Actually after all those buff to the other Clash lane, I feel sad to Arthur cause now the most playable only for him now is only tank build. Last time, he still can play as jungler or half damage build, fighter build. But now he cannot compete with other Clash laner mostly. So he stays in tier B. The tier B Clash lane completes here, and we will continue with C tier. And then in tier C Clash lane, only Yang Jian is here. Although the official buff him making he can use ultimate without any target, but this just a little buff for him. His problem is on his mobility. Although he can teleport using the skill 1 mark or real damage from his skill 2, that is still not sufficient for him to get spotlight in any other tiers. So, now. This is all the Clash laner tier list. Hope you gain some knowledge on the game after this. I need food to survive, and how I get my meal is depend on these videos that you are watching. I need support like sharing my videos, like and comments, and if you can support me financially, you can donate to me using the thanks function, so that I can at least have my meal when creating videos. So, this video only covers until here, and I will end the video here. If you want to know more on mid lane, it will be covered in the part 5.